What's going on? Welcome to this little episode where we're going to talk about money. Pink Floyd, good times, simpler times, simpler times, simpler times. I'll get into it. I'll get into it. It's a beautiful Sunday. I've tried to record this video 3 times now, and it's that entropy. It's that level of resistance where you are trying to do something and it feels like the universe doesn't want to let you do it, and you continue to do it. You continue to be persistent because there's always going to be an obstacle. There's always going to be a barking dog. There's always going to be somebody who decides to pull up to your crib. You didn't even let them know. Anyway, we are here, and I want to talk about money and what money is. It's not going to be a long video. It's not going to be a whole podcast episode. It's just more of like a little, I want to provide more content for the channel because it helps me, help you, and, provides more wealth, knowledge, and humor. So today, what is money? Money is an extension of yourself. Money is what allows there to be two different kinds of things. Money can provide ambition. Money can provide laziness. Money can provide fake love. Money can provide external love, but not internal love. Money can provide almost everything that you can think of, except the internal. Now, money being an extension of yourself it amplifies who you are. If you're a frugal person that likes to hoard their money and is really cheap with other people, and it's going to show how greedy you are. If you're a giving person, it's going to show how giving you are. And money is also going to help you build better quality relationships if that's where your mindset is. And you kind of start changing lifestyles and it improves yourself. Again, if you're heading in the right direction, it will. We have such a huge and a different kind of mindset of money. We've been lied to our whole entire lives. Our parents have been lied to. And, even going back to another generation before that, our great grandparents, they had it as far as finances, they had it pretty easy. And it's not to say that they didn't go through any turbulences, they didn't go through any struggles as adults or living in the 60s, 70s, right? It's the way it is. And I'll show you guys what I mean by it. Money has always been a motivation for me, but for the wrong reasons for a big part of my life. To acquire that fame, that fortune, the nice cars, the nice houses. And then as I continue to get older, I realize what it really means is freedom. It really means stability, not just stability, but freedom in the sense that you don't owe anybody anything. You don't have to depend on your time for you to make money, which leads to trading your time for money. Money is essentially a physical receipt, a physical representation of your time. So if you think about it like, okay, I make $25 an hour. Okay, you make $25 an hour. What is that equal to in $100? That's 4 hours. This is a receipt of 4 hours of your work. If you make $100 an hour, this is a receipt of 1 hour of your work, of your time. So the reason why I say that we've been lied to and that we've been kind of pushed in the wrong direction when it comes to money is the fact that we trade our time for money. A limit. There is a limit. There's a limitless amount of money. There's an abundance of money, but there is not an abundance of time. We have a limited amount of time in our lives because we have a limited amount of time in this world. So why should we trade our time, our limited resource, for a limitless resource? That's when I started changing my concept of what money really is, right? Going on to a couple of things, some facts about money. I started doing this yesterday and it kind of like started blowing my mind, right? So first I asked, I'm gonna zoom in here real quick because y'all know I can't see very well, but we'll figure it out together. What is the average cost of a home, right, in the United States today? The average price of a home in the United States today, and we're gonna round down. We're in these scenarios, we're gonna round. Screw it, we'll round up. 420. $420,000 is the average price of a home today. All right, now let's dig a little deeper. What is the average price of a home in 1960? So the average price of a home in 1960, and we're going to round up, is $12,000. $12,000. Now, it comes to think, well, Edwin, that's 1960. People only really made, like a couple dollars an hour. You're right. Let's follow that logic. Based on inflation, because inflation is what determines we're going to round up, what would $12,000 in 1960 be worth today? Based on inflation is what they're telling us. 100 and again, we're going to round up. 120,000. 130,000. Sorry, because I saw that other 115. 130,000. So you're telling me if we were in 1960, based on today's money, the average home in America would cost you $130,000. Make that make sense? Because it doesn't make that make sense. So that means that back in the day, it was so much easier to obtain a home versus today. What is, I'll erase this real quick, sorry. Let's find out what the average income was. What is the average income? Dude, that coffee gets me jittery. In 1960, individual income is about $4,100 a year. Let's do this again. What is $4,100 in 1960 worth today? In 1960, this would be worth about $43,715. If somebody who made the average income was able to get an average house, that means that whoever makes $43,000 a year, which seems about the average now, okay, would be able to get a $400,000 house? I don't think so. You're lucky if you can get maybe $150,000 off of $43,000 a year. You probably could if you had like a low debt to income ratio. That's a different story. Why am I talking about this? Why am I even telling you guys all of these random facts about money? Or why am I even telling you about it? It's because of the concept of saving versus investing. Back in the day, follow along. Let me know when y'all got little thinking caps on or whenever you want to follow along with me. I'm going to give you an analogy. Let's say you're in a room, right? You ever heard of that saying, keeping your head above water, right? That's let me rephrase what that means to me. When you think about the term keeping your head above water, that means that the water continues to rise and you are trying to stay above it. You're trying to stay ahead, not paycheck to paycheck. You're trying to be a little bit ahead, and people just need the head to be above water. So back in the day, the average inflation rate is about 2%. So think about that water rising. Water rising kind of slow. It's rising, but it's not that fast. Back in the day, savings worked. It worked. You pay your bills. You go on maybe 1 or 2 vacations a year. You save up for about 5-6 years, and you can buy a home. And you didn't have to do anything with your money, because inflation, the water was rising so slow that you were able to save faster than the water was able to raise. But what happens? Nowadays, the water's rising quicker. And all of our parents, God bless their heart, because they didn't know any better. So it's not like I'm blaming our parents. It's a system. It's us being conditioned. It's us being it's ignorance. We didn't know any better. They didn't know any better. But all we know how to do is save, because that's all our parents knew how to do. They didn't know about a stock market, la bolsa de valores. They just heard it on Telemundo going ding, 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 ding. They didn't know what that meant. I remember my mom was like, "What is that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't even start investing in the market till I was like 22. I didn't know crap about any of this stuff." So again, it's not that I'm blaming our parents, but it's just this is generational wealth has to be built in almost overnight. And what I mean by that is it takes one generation to change the entire future of a family. Be that person. Nowadays, we need to invest. So whenever you guys, for those of you guys who follow me on Instagram, TikTok, or anywhere else that I talk about, like specifically Instagram, or I talk about money, and I always posting these like gains, right? And I post some losses every once in a while too. So don't think that you can't lose money in the market, because you can, but overall you won't, because the markets are always going to keep their head above water. And if anything, they're going to keep their shoulders above water. And if you put it in the right kind of places where you can get dividends, your money needs to work for you. I had the book that really changed my life in 2021. If you haven't already read this, The Richest Man of Babylon. Amazing book. And it talked about if there is anything that a man can own that is a slave, it's money. Let these gold pieces work for you to create small copper pieces, and allow these copper pieces to have children and develop themselves to silver pieces. And those silver pieces will also produce children of copper pieces. In other words, let your money work for you. Let your money work for you, because I think a lot of people have a misconception that in order to invest in the market, you have to have a certain amount. Back in the day, it was difficult to trade for an average person. Anybody can download Robinhood, Webull. Anybody can download any form, any application, and start trading tomorrow. We are scared because we don't know. We didn't know any better. Our parents didn't know what that is. They think it's a scam. And again, it's just a different time, y'all. That's all it is. Let's get with the times. If you don't have ChatGPT on your phone right now, if you're under the age of 45, I'm gonna let it slide if you're over 45. But I still consider 45 to be young, where you can still be relevant. If you're under 45 and you don't have ChatGPT, you are losing. You are losing. This isn't like yes, it can be, it technically is an opinion, but it will eventually be a fact. If you don't catch up with inflation, if you don't catch up with the times, if you don't stay relevant, and I struggle with staying relevant when it comes to like the social media aspect of things. But what's important to me is financial literacy. This is why I like to share this information. So what's the goal here? Here's the goal. Okay. Save $1,000. Why $1,000? This is shout out to Dave Ramsey, but how many, well, what percent of Americans, because this is going to, if you haven't seen this, this is going to blow your mind. What percent of Americans have over 1,000 saved up? Essentially, based on and I saw this, it was 45%, but according to this survey, it's saying that 18% of Americans had between 1,000 and 10,000 in savings. So I mean, that's also because essentially, because I can look it up again, but I'm not gonna go all back and forth. But that's still a crazy number. 18% of Americans have between 1,000 and 10,000. 18% of Americans. That's the top 20%, almost, right? 45% of Americans do not have at least $1,000 saved up. That's 150 million people in the first world country. 150 million people in the first world country do not have $1,000 saved up. So whenever you feel like you're slacking or you're behind, if you have $1,000 saved up, congratulations, you are in the top half of Americans right now. You're in the top half. On a side note, nothing to do with money. My brother gave me this really crazy statistic that the average amount of push-ups that a man can do is 8. 8. Ocho, which is kind of crazy. So if you're doing more than 8 push-ups in a row, congratulations. If you're not, you're slacking. I'm not here to judge people, y'all. I'm here to help people. And if there's anything I want you to learn, is that 10%, just 10% of your income, 10% of your income can make a huge difference in your life. 10%. 10%, 10%, 10%. It doesn't require a lot, y'all. Because the thing is that I feel a lot of people are like, oh, I have to save hundreds of dollars a month. How about, let's start with this. This is what I used to tell people all the time. If you are not considering savings a bill, if you don't consider savings a bill, it will not be saved. Savings is a bill. Savings is a bill. If you do not save your money, if you don't make it a priority to save your money, you will continue to always barely keep your head above water. I'll close up with this. Think about it like this, y'all. Very simple. At the end of the day, it has become difficult to accumulate money, especially for those of you who are parents in a struggling economy. Review your finances. Stop spending on things that you don't really need and focus on the things that you do need. And if you can somehow take away 10% of every paycheck, if you make about $1,200, $1,300 every 2 weeks, $120, $130 should be invested. There is a difference between investing and savings. A lot of people also, once they do start investing or saving, they confuse those two. Savings is for a rainy day. Savings is for maybe you're trying to buy a house. Your investments is forever. Your investments into your retirement. 401ks, right? People have 401ks and that money is managed by another person who is making way more money off of your money. If you have $10,000 in your 401k, which I know that's honestly kind of lowballing it. That's assuming you're around our age, like 20 to 30. If you have $100,000 in your 401k, you're allowing somebody else to give you a return of about 3%. They're an asset manager, right? Your asset manager, Vanguard, BlackRock, I think it's called Exchange or something like that. But these people are making money off of your money. They're just giving you the cut. So if you took the ownership of understanding how money works and how you can make money work faster, you probably wouldn't have a 401k. Now, I'm not saying a 401k is a bad thing. I'm just saying these are one of the things that used to work better back in the day, like savings, right? Things now have to be, you have to take the initiative, especially if you're young. Most of this audience is young. And even if you're not young, because there's a 20-year plan here. We'll talk about it more in a future video, but I can show you how to make $1 million in 20 years by only investing roughly about $100 every paycheck. Hear me now. $1 million in 20 years by only putting $100 every paycheck. Assuming that you continue to only put $100 every paycheck and you don't add a little extra here and there. $1 million in 20 years. So even if you're 50, yeah, you may have to continue to work for another 20 years. But once you're 70, you'll pretty much be set. And $1 million isn't what it used to be. So that's why I'm even pushing the young people to be like, $1 million isn't really a lot of money now. $1 million is almost like that's the starter. That's when you're like, okay, congratulations. You're doing comfortable. You're doing fine. Now what? Are you going to deplete that money and start spending it? Or are you going to continue to let it grow? So think to yourself, what do I do with my money? Where does it go? Am I being a consumer or am I being a producer? You either consume things and you're paying other people. And I'll leave you guys with this much. Back with the richest man of Babylon, he talks about we pay everybody but ourselves. We pay everybody first. We pay Starbucks first. We pay McDonald's first. We pay Louis Vuitton first. We pay Gucci. We pay the club first. We pay the bottle service person. We pay everybody first. That's where the 10% comes in. Before you start spending your money, try for one paycheck. If you feel like it's too tight, maybe find a way to get maybe a part-time job for just 3 to 6 months. I promise you it'll change it. You don't have to do that for a long time. That's why it's a part-time job. You don't have to do it for too long. But if you can invest 10% of your income, Even if you're making $800 a week, I mean, every 2 weeks, that's $80. That's $160 a month. You start doing that consistently, and then don't worry about the rest. You can continue to splurge if you want to. Continue to do your lifestyle. Just shave off that 10% for yourself. Stop paying everybody else. Start paying yourself. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys took something from this. Always remember, stay happy, stay healthy. Have a good one.